"Where's your homework, boy? Or don't they teach math in the ghetto?" Chairs squeaked. Pens froze mid-dash scratch. The classroom felt colder than the AC. Jameer looked up slowly from his notebook. Didn't blink. Didn't smile. I turned. It in yesterday, digitally, like the syllabus said. Professor Kellerman tilted his head. Fake smile sharp as a blade. Right, you people love making excuses through Wi-Fi. The room tensed. Someone chuckled near the back, nervous. Come solve number 7, Kellerman said, tapping the board with his marker like a gavel. Let's see if affirmative action really pays off. Jameer stood up without a word. His hoodie was clean. Dark blue, Métis crest. He didn't rush. He didn't fumble. Chalk hit the board. Numbers started flowing, sharp, confident, silent. Kellerman narrowed his eyes. That's not the method we use here. No, Jameer said. It's faster. Faster doesn't mean correct, son. Jameer paused, turned, looked him dead in the face. Actually, it does, in math at least. Want me to integrate it backwards too? The class let out a soft collective. Kellerman forced a laugh. Well, we can't all memorize answers off YouTube videos now, can we? Jameer erased the last line, rewrote the solution. 3 different ways. All correct. One kid at the back muttered, "Damn." Another whispered, "He's not playing." Kellerman's smile cracked. So you're trying to show me up now? Jameer stepped away from the board, holding the chalk like a mic drop. I'm trying to pass your class. But if you're asking if I know more calculus than you, I do. Silence. Someone gasped. Kellerman's jaw clenched. Excuse me? Jameer walked back to his desk, slow and calm. You heard me. But I can repeat it with derivatives if that's easier for you. The room erupted. Not loud, but enough. A few claps. Some covered mouths. Kellerman slammed his marker down. Sit down. Jameer didn't flinch. Already did. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped open an app. Hold it up. Also, here's the receipt. Assignment submitted. Time stamped. Yesterday. Maybe next time, read, Professor. A beat of silence. Then another student raised their hand. Wait. Is that you in the MIT lecture archive? All eyes snapped at Jameer. He didn't answer. Another student leaned in. Bro, I saw that clip. You're the kid who corrected the math dean who lives on Zoom? Kellerman's face turned the color of old chalk. Jameer stayed quiet, but his I said everything. He didn't need to shout. He'd already won. Mr. Lewis, a word. Now. Jameer didn't blink. He closed his laptop, slung his backpack over one shoulder, and walked out of the classroom without speaking. Kellerman's office door slammed shut behind them. The blinds rattled. You think what you did was clever? The professor growled. You embarrassed me in front of 100 students. You disrespected my classroom. I corrected an error, Jameer said evenly. If your ego got hurt, that's on you. Kellerman leaned across his desk. Do you want to fail this class? Jameer smiled faintly. I thought you'd at least pretend to be subtle about it. The older man's fingers tapped a keyboard rapidly. Let's see. Jameer Malik Lewis. No scholarship records listed under STEM. No club affiliations. You've never even joined the Math Society. That tells me one thing, that you don't know how to look. Kellerman stopped typing, glared. Excuse me? You're using the university portal. That database hasn't been updated in months. Try the external records, or better yet. Jameer reached into his bag, pulled out a laminated folder. Scan this. Kellerman hesitated, then grabbed the document like it was radioactive. His eyes scanned the top line, froze. Full NSF Fellowship. Awardee 2022. National Math Olympiad finalist. Interned at CERN. Published paper in the Journal of Applied Theoretical Mathematics at age 15. You're lying, he said hoarsely. Cross-check it, Jameer said. That paper? Page 93, top right column. Authored under J. M. Lewis. You taught it last semester. Kellerman sank into his chair like someone had unplugged him. Jameer stayed standing, calm, silent, unbothered. You could have said something. The professor finally muttered. Jameer's tone dropped quiet, sharp. I don't owe you that. You never asked, you assumed. The air went still again. You assumed I was lazy, dumb, some quota cases sliding by. But I've been building algorithms since middle school. You just saw my skin and made a conclusion. Kellerman swallowed hard. Why even take my class? Because I wanted to see what the system looked like from the inside. Turns out it's exactly what people warned me it'd be. For a second, the professor looked almost tired. Or scared. I'll grade you fairly, he mumbled. I'm not here for favors. Just don't get in my way. Jameer turned to leave, but paused at the door. Double quotes. Oh, and one more thing. Kellerman looked up. I did join the Math Society, Jameer said. I'm just not listed. Why not? Because I run it. Click. The door closed behind him. The professor sat in frozen silence, staring at the screen still pulled up with Jameer's file. And for the first time in a very long time, he felt underqualified. Did you hear what happened in Kellerman's 301? Bro, the kid destroyed him on the board. 3 solutions. No notes, straight savage. Was it the same? Black guy from the back row? That's Jameer. Dude's a ghost genius. Been under radar the whole semester. By 10 a.m., the whispers had turned into full-blown echoes. By noon, someone had drawn a tiny cartoon of Kellerman getting roasted chalked in the corner of lecture hall. D's WHITEBOARD. By 3 p.m., the meme had over 2,000 likes on the campus subreddit. Me T hoodie. Clean fade. Spits calculus like fire. Caption. And you still gave him a key minus? Jameer sat alone under the oak tree near the library steps, flipping through a notebook column on the outside, storm on the inside. Hey, he looked up. A girl stood awkwardly near the bench. Wavy hair, glasses, calculus book in hand. Can I sit? He nodded. She sat, then hesitated. I'm Nadia. I'm 301 too. I know. You didn't have to do that, but I'm glad you did. Jameer stayed quiet. I've been shrinking in that room for months, she added. He picks at people like it's his job. Jameer finally looked up. You speak up. In class sometimes, you're sharp, she blushed. Yeah, well? He doesn't think so. Last week he told me women should stick to stats and let the real math be handled by the big boys. Jameer's jaw tightened. He said that? Right before giving me a B- on a perfect paper. He flipped his notebook shut. You still got that paper? Yeah. Why? I'm going to the department chair tomorrow. I want you to come. With me, she froze. Wait, you're serious? Dead. You think they'll actually listen? I think they will if we walk in with proof. He stood. She stared at him. You're not scared, are you? He asked. Her chin lifted. Slowly, not anymore. Meanwhile, in the faculty lounge, Kellerman sipped his bitter coffee, avoiding everyone's gaze. Quite the scene you made yesterday, muttered Professor Hines. Kellerman didn't look up. That kid's a manipulative show-off. You mean the NSF fellow who fixed your mistake 3 times in front of witnesses? Kellerman's eyes flashed. He made me look like a fool. No, you did that yourself, Hines said bluntly. Kid didn't raise his voice once. Professor Ewan chimed in from the corner. Word is spreading. Admin might ask questions. Kellerman stood abruptly. I've taught here for 22 years. That child walks in, shows off, and suddenly I'm the villain? Not suddenly, Ewan muttered under her breath. By Evening. Someone had erased Kellerman's whiteboard and replaced it with 3 words in thick black marker. Check your bias. Nobody claimed it. Nobody erased it either. Academic Integrity Review. The words slid across the table like poison. Jmir raised an eyebrow. You're accusing me of cheating? Dean Farrow didn't blink. Professor Kellerman submitted. A formal complaint. Claims your exam score is statistically improbable for a student with no prior high performance indicators. Jamir chuckled under his breath. Did he also mention the NSF fellowship? Or the paper he plagiarized in? His lecture last year? Farrow's lips tightened. This isn't about his past conduct. It's about yours. I didn't cheat, Jamir said flatly. I just outperformed. Farrow glanced at the folder in front of him, thin. Suspiciously thin. Then I assume you won't mind submitting to an oral retest. This Friday, closed room. 1 proctor. No notes, Jamir leaned forward. Let me guess. The proctor's name rhymes with Kellerman? Farrow offered a plastic smile. This is just standard process. You understand? Yeah, Jamir said coldly. I understand exactly what this is. Meanwhile, Nadia stood outside the admin building, gripping a thick manila envelope. Inside, her paper, original notes, audio recordings of sexist comments, and a student petition with over 150 signatures backing Jamir. She stared at the door. Hesitated. You got this, a voice said behind her. Jamir approached calmly, hands in his hoodie pockets. I shouldn't be scared, she said quietly. That's how they want you to feel, he replied. Like we don't belong in the room we earned. She nodded, then took a breath, and they walked in together. Professor Kellerman was already in the department office when they arrived. Standing, arms folded, wearing a smug expression like armor. Well, well, he said. Didn't expect a group project today. Neither did I, Jamir shot back. But your harassment seems to come with group discounts. Careful, Kellerman said. Tone like that doesn't help when you're under academic review. Good thing I brought evidence, Jamir replied, sliding Nadia's envelope across the table to the chair of the department. Dr. Monroe. Dr. Monroe opened it, eyed the documents, paused at the petition. What's this? Student witnesses, Nadia said, and several recorded statements from his classes. You'll find dates and timestamps. Kellerman's face started to flush. I will not sit here and be slandered by the students you've mocked, belittled and accused? Monroe cut in. Her voice was sharper now. That's exactly what you'll do, Professor. The room went still. Kellerman looked like he might explode. Monroe flipped through the files again, slower now. She turned to Jamir. You're scheduled for a retest Friday, correct? Jamir nodded. You'll take it in my presence, not his. Kellerman opened his mouth. Monroe raised a hand. You're excused, Professor Kellerman. Please close the door behind you. He stormed out. Jamir and Nadia sat in the silence that followed. Monroe finally looked up again. I can't promise how this ends, but I can promise it won't be buried. Jamir exhaled for the first time in hours. That night, on the same whiteboard. Near Lecture Hall D, someone had scribbled in permanent red marker, when systems protect predators, students must be the fire. No one erased it. This time, someone added a flame emoji underneath. The room was empty. No crowd, no whispers. Just one table, 2 chairs, and a wall clock ticking too loud. Dr. Monroe sat across from him, pen in hand. You ready? Jamir nodded. Always. She handed over the test 10 pages, no calculator. No notes, pure calculus. Pure pressure. He read through each question once. No panic. Just a quiet rhythm building in his head. Pencil down. Solve, flip, solve, scribble, flip. She watched silently, no expression. No encouragement, just cold administrative neutrality. By the 30-minute mark, he was on page 8. By 45. He had circled the final answer. Jameer slid the test forward. Done. Monroe raised an eyebrow. You still have 45 minutes left. I won't be using them. She didn't speak for a moment, just opened the test and scanned the pages. Her eyes flicked back and forth, lips pressed into a thin line. This is perfect, she finally said. Jameer stood. So we're done here? Monroe hesitated, then nodded slowly. We're done. Later that afternoon, someone slid a note under Jameer's dorm door. No name. No signature. Just one line written in thick blue ink. Watched what you did. Respect. 4th floor math lab. Underneath was a tiny sketch of a crown. Kellerman, meanwhile, sat in his office, blinds drawn, door locked. A faculty newsletter was open on his screen. Department opens integrity review of longtime professor after student complaints. No names, but everyone knew. A knock at the door. He didn't answer. Another knock. Professor Kellerman, a voice called. You should see what's on the main hall board. He waited 5 minutes. Then 10. Finally, he stood. When he reached the lecture hall, the hallway buzzed with students. On the main whiteboard, bold, clean, centered, someone had written, Truth doesn't yell. IT solves. And beneath it, J.M. Lewis. No one said a word. They just stepped aside as Kellerman passed. He erased the board, but his hands shook the entire time. That night, the campus math forum changed its banner. Instead of the standard formulas for finals, it now read, Student-led, student-owned, led by J.M. Lewis. In tiny font below, yes, that J.M. Lewis. You brought him to this hearing? Kellerman's voice cut through the room like a jagged knife as he spotted Jameer entering with Dr. Monroe and Nadia. This isn't a hearing, Monroe said coldly. It's a discussion, and Mr. Lewis has every right to be here. The faculty boardroom had glass walls, but the tension inside made them feel bulletproof. Kellerman stood with a thick binder clutched in his hands. I have every assignment, every inconsistency. This student is manipulative, disrespectful. He's undermined the very structure of this department. Structure built on what? Jameer asked, stepping forward. On fear? On favoritism? On respect, Kellerman snapped. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned. Jameer's voice never wavered. Dean Farrow cleared his throat. Let's stay professional. Professor Kellerman, what exactly are you alleging? Kellerman slammed the binder onto the table. Academic dishonesty, grade inflation, a coordinated student campaign to smear my reputation. Coordinated? Nadia said, her voice shaking but firm. You mean telling the truth out loud? Kellerman turned on her. You were barely passing before this. Don't act like some revolutionary now. Stop, Monroe said sharply. Jameer stepped closer. You want to talk reputation? Let's open your binder. He reached into his backpack, pulled out a folder, and slid it across the table to the board. Inside, screenshots of student complaints, dating back 5 years, emails with dismissive responses to female students' lecture notes that matched published. Works without citation, a video clip. Kellerman joking that calculus was never meant for community college transfers during a Zoom class. Dean Farrow looked up slowly. Where did this come from? Former students, Jameer said. Took a while, but turns out a lot of people you silenced saved everything. The room went quiet. Kellerman's face turned pale. This is absurd. Those are taken out of context. Then let's invite the students in, Monroe said. Let's ask them the context. You're throwing away decades of tenure for one student? Kellerman barked. No, said Dr. Ewan from the corner. We're correcting decades because one student finally stood up. Kellerman looked around searching for someone to side with him, but no one met his eyes. Not even Pharaoh. You can't do this, he whispered. You already did it to yourself, Monroe said. He left the room, no binder, no apology, no power. Just the sound of the door clicking behind him. Outside, students crowded the halls. Word had gotten out. Kellerman brushed past them without a word. Jameer emerged next. A few students started to clap softly at first, then louder. Not a roar, just steady. A rising tide of respect. Nadia nudged him. You didn't just win. You changed something, Jameer nodded once. Not enough yet. Then he walked down the hallway, shoulders tall, gaze forward, and on the hallway corkboard, someone had pinned a sticky note that read, "One voice can crack a wall. The second makes it fall." The email subject line read, Dean's Office. Formal invitation to lead campus-wide STEM inclusion panel. Jameer stared at it for a long moment, then exhaled slow, cautious. Nadia leaned over his shoulder. You gonna do it? Depends, he said. Are they inviting me to speak? Or to shut me up? She grinned. Guess there's only one way to find out. The auditorium was full. Faculty, students, cameras. A local news station even sent a reporter. The panel table stretched across the stage. 5 seats. Only one really mattered. Jameer took his place. In the center, Dean Pharaoh gave a rehearsed intro. Talked about dialogue, healing, forward momentum. Then he passed the mic. Jameer took it without flinching. I'm not here to smooth anything over, he said calmly. I'm here to name what's broken. Silence. The system works for those it was built for. Everyone else is just lucky to be here until they speak up. Nadia sat in the front row, nodding. The problem isn't one professor. It's the silence around him. It's the admin emails that say, we'll look into it. It's the students who get warned not to make noise. A professor in the second row lowered his gaze. I'm not asking for special treatment, Jameer continued. I'm demanding equal ground. For me. For the girl who got told she wasn't math material. For the kid who sits in the back and thinks staying quiet is safer. His voice never rose, but the room felt smaller, tighter, held in his words. I didn't want to be a symbol. I wanted to be left alone, to learn. But I got dragged into a fight I didn't start, and now I plan to finish it. Applause. It started cautious. Then grew, loud, focused. Pharaoh leaned toward Monroe. We need to keep him on our side. Monroe replied flatly, he's not on anyone's side. He is the side. Later that evening, Jameer returned to the math lab. Inside, the whiteboards were full equations notes. Ideas left behind by students inspired by the panel. In the center was a fresh drawing. A crown made from graph lines. Underneath, J.M. Lewis, head of lab, keeper of the flame. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, reading it. Then someone behind him said, Thought you hated attention. He turned. Professor Yuen, I still do, he said. She smiled. Get used to it. You earned every second. Jameer nodded, quiet. Then finally asked, Was it enough? Today? Yes, she replied. Tomorrow? You'll need to say it again, and again, until the walls stay cracked open. He looked back at the whiteboard. Then I better keep the chalk ready. It started small. Office hours got busier, but not for help with homework. Students came in to talk. Hey, Mr. Lewis, Jameer, thanks for what you said. I almost dropped out last semester. Thought maybe I didn't belong here. I thought I was just bad at stats, another confessed. But now I think I was just tired of being humiliated every time I asked a question. Even the silence changed. Some professors began pausing after jokes, double-checking slides, rewriting. Problem names that once referenced stereotypes. It was subtle, but it echoed. One day, Nadia walked into the math lounge to find a laminated sign posted above the espresso machine. Math isn't neutral, it's written by whose voice you listen to. Underneath, STEM Inclusion Committee, founded by J.M. Lewis. Meanwhile, Monroe made quiet moves behind closed doors. Kellerman's review was escalated. Not a headline, not a scandal, but his course load shrank. His hallway office moved. His tenure committee was reassessed. He still walked campus, still taught, but students didn't whisper about his brilliance anymore. They whispered about what he got away with. Until Jameer. Wait, is this real? Nadia asked, scrolling her phone. Jamir leaned over. What? She held it up. Campus. News article. New diversity metrics added to faculty evaluations. Underneath. Student-led initiatives force administration to revise long-standing review policies. A small fire turned systemic. You did that, she said. Jameer shook his head. We did. In the months that followed, 4 new black students joined the advanced calculus track. 2 professors began co-teaching mathematics and bias, how numbers are used to exclude. The Math Society tripled in membership, and half of the new names weren't white or male. Jameer never gave a victory speech, never posted about it. He just kept showing up, kept solving, kept listening. One day, walking past Lecture Hall D, he saw something that stopped him cold. The main whiteboard, the one once smeared with his name, now displayed a printed quote behind protective glass. Truth doesn't yell, IT solves. J.M. Lewis. Someone had framed it. Someone had made it permanent. He stood there a long time, didn't touch it, didn't speak, just breathed. Back in his dorm, another note slid under his door. Same handwriting, same blue ink. No name, first. You cracked it. Then you rebuilt it. Next year run for student board. We need leaders who know when to solve ... and when to shake the system. Jameer folded the note slowly. This time, he smiled. The headline popped up at 2:13 a.m. Is J.M. Lewis bullying professors into silence? Anonymous faculty member. Nadia's text came in seconds later. They're coming. Stay ready. By morning, 3 anonymous op-eds had been posted on a faculty blog. He's weaponizing student outrage. He creates a hostile learning environment. I feel unsafe challenging him in class. None had names. All referenced a rising student leader with a superiority complex. The language was familiar, calm, legal. Strategic. Dean Farrow sent a bland email. We ask all members of the university community to treat one another with civility during this time of heightened sensitivity. Jameer didn't reply. He didn't post. He didn't even flinch. He just showed up to the lab, opened the door, sat down, and waited. The students arrived quietly at first, then steadily. By noon, the math lounge was full. Over 40 students. Some holding notebooks, others holding signs. Don't twist respect into fear. He didn't bully, he built. We're not following him. We're standing with him. One student pulled out her phone. Should we record something? Jameer shook his head. I don't need to prove myself louder. I just need to prove them wrong again. Meanwhile, Monroe stormed into Farrow's office, slapping a printed blog post on his desk. This, she said, this is what you allow to pass for discourse? They have a right to express concern, Farrow said calmly. No, they have a right to face him, not hide behind keyboards like cowards. Farrow sighed. We're trying to keep the peace. There is no peace when the loudest person in the room is anonymous and angry at the truth. Farrow tapped his desk. You think he's flawless? No, she said. I think he's earned every damn step forward. And I think this department's finally changing because someone had the guts to call the rot by name. He said nothing. Just remember, Monroe added, walking out, history won't remember who complained anonymously, but it will remember who stood still. That afternoon, someone posted a thread on the campus forum. I'm not anonymous. And I'm not afraid. Signed, Nadia El Amin. He never raised his voice, never threatened anyone. He showed us what excellence looks like without apology. And some people weren't ready for that. But I was. I still am. It got over 10,000 views. By midnight, Jameer walked the halls the next day like nothing had changed. But people noticed. A professor stepped aside, offering him the marker to finish a problem of white. Student once silent fist bumped him at the vending machine, and admin nodded at him in the hallway and said, "Keep going, Mr. Lewis. They see you now." Back in Lecture Hall D, someone had added a new sticky note beneath the framed quote, "Let them push. You don't move." He left it there. Didn't add anything back. Didn't need to, because in a world full of noise, his silence had become the loudest sound. The lecture hall was packed, but this time, nobody was watching to see if Jameer belonged. They were watching because they knew he did. Dean Farrow stepped up to the mic. "Before we begin, the university would like to honor one individual whose impact has reshaped the culture of this campus." He cleared his throat, scanning the paper in front of him. Leader. Mathematician. Founder of the STEM Inclusion Panel. Honor graduate. Recipient of the President's Torch of Merit. A pause. Then, finally, Mr. Jameer Malik Lewis. The applause didn't erupt, it rose. Like it was standing up on its own. Jameer walked to the podium. No speech in hand. No slides. Just the same calm walk he'd had the first day he stood at the whiteboard. Years ago. "I didn't ask for this," he said softly, "and I didn't do it alone." He looked out at the crowd. Faces of every shade, every major, every level. "I'm standing here because people believed I could do more than survive in a place built to exclude me." A few students nodded. One wiped their eyes. "You don't fight systems like this with fists. You fight them by being undeniably excellent every single day. Until silence becomes your amplifier." He looked down at the front row. Nadia smiled, her hand over her heart. He looked at Monroe. She gave a nod that said, "You finished it. And if any of you ever feel like this place wasn't meant for you," he said, "good. That means you're about to build something new." Later that afternoon, a new student wandered into the math lab. She wore big glasses, oversized sneakers, and nerves like armor. She paused at the door. "Sorry, is this the STEM lab?" Jameer turned from the board. "It is. You're welcome here." She blinked. "I heard this place. It used to be different." Jameer smiled. "It was." She stepped in slowly. "And you're Jameer?" "I am." She looked at the whiteboard, now filled with equations and quotes. Then back at him. "Is it true you solved Kellerman's equation blind, 3 ways, no notes?" He chuckled. "I don't know if that's how they tell it. But yeah, something like that." She looked at him like a myth walking. He handed her a dry erase marker. "You here to learn?" "I think so." "Then grab a seat. We don't gatekeep genius around here." She sat down, smiling for the first time. Out in the hallway, the quote still hung framed behind glass. "Truth doesn't yell. IT solves." J.M. Lewis, but someone had etched one more line beneath it. Barely. Noticeable. Only visible when light hit it just right. Legacy isn't what you say. It's what keeps standing after you stop speaking. And in that quiet hallway, it kept standing. Asterisk.